This 14-minute video is to talk about the borders of an independent Scotland with the rest of the UK. It sets out to answer the questions and negative points raised by the Better Together campaign in 2014 and people that support the British Union since then. This is why you have a border. It is primarily to control taxes and custom moving, and for security in some countries, people. In 12 slides, I'm going to cover these points here, with view to education and to clarify negative points to do with Scottish independence and the border. Border facts. There are 196 countries in the world registered with the United Nations. By far the greatest number of these has at least one land border with another country, and there are some countries with 5 land borders with 5 other countries. People cross these borders, trade crosses these borders, it is normal. Specifically within this island, the border between England and Scotland is 96 miles long. It has 24 roads that cross it, 4 ones that are the main routes for volume of people and trade, and most of the other roads are actually located to the east and to the west of the border, with only a few crossing the centre of the border. And what of the border itself? This map shows the situation in the 16th century. At that time there was 3 Scottish marches and 3 English marches, and these were areas managed by a warden who was responsible for restricting reivers and illegal things on the border and crossing the border. The border itself has been hardly changed at all since the Battle of Carham in 1018. There's been minor tweaks which I'll explain now. Prior to 1237, knights from both Scotland and England walked down the border, and they defined the border in writing, following river streams, past geographic landmarks that wouldn't move, over the ridges of hills, so that it was clearly defined. And it was this written document that became a written, clear definition of the border in 1237 in the Treaty of York. It established clearly what happened in 1018. In 1482, Berwick-on-Tweed here was ceded over to England. You can see the River Tweed here, so this little area here became part of England. This little part of the border here, which at the time was called the debatable land, because nobody could control it. It was full of crooks, reivers and bandits really. But before 1552, the warden of the English Middlemarch, with tacit approval from Scotland, from here to here, just sorted it out. Anybody you found was just killed if they were in any way at all involved in illegal trade. This allowed the land from here to define clearly in writing, and it is this land, this border, that is now unchanged. So, 2014 and all that. Prior to 2014 and many times since, people that support the Union keep talking about Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall, of course, is nowhere near the border, and it was created and built at a time when Scotland and England clearly did not exist. Others within the Union support tell you this is what our border will be like with England if Scotland becomes independent. They say this, and this, and this. They have nothing to say here, of course, when you lost your EU membership. Looking at the citizenship question, I will lose my UK citizenship. I've already lost my EU citizenship, so I'll lose my UK citizenship. For anyone born in the UK when Scotland separates, they still would have a UK passport, and they have it renewed as normal because they were brought up and lived in the United Kingdom, even although you now live in Scotland. It works like this in most countries. If you're the parent or a child or a grandchild, all of you have rights to citizenship of the country your parent was born in. You see this in sport, how somebody who's never lived in the UK can actually get a job here playing for England or Scotland in the national team because their parent was born here. Of course, you can have your citizenship refused if you've been a criminal. Have a read at this. It's quite a complex situation, but the basic simple story is just as I've said. This is how most people envisage a land border. The land border is to allow people and trade to cross it in a controlled way, to stop illegal goings-on and also to collect tax and monitor trade for tax purposes, also food hygiene purposes. The UK has something quite unique. It has a common travel area. When Ireland left the UK in 1921, a law was written which became in force in 1923 that created the common travel area between the islands of the UK and Ireland. It was updated and renewed in 2020 after Brexit. This is what the common travel area is. You can find out more here and read what it was all about. If you do a Google search, there's lots of options. So, the physical land border with England. This is my opinion. For people living in the country of the UK and Ireland, especially those that live near the border, it would be easy for the governments of Scotland and the rest of the UK to put this system in. You apply for a tag that goes on the windscreen of your car. As you drive to the border, you slow down. The computer reads the tags, changes the pass to go, and you just keep moving. This would be simple. Indeed, such a system was installed in September 2006 on the Forth Road Bridge to take tolls. It was, however, scrapped just after it was installed because the Scottish Government removed tolls on all Scottish bridges. Due to the common travel area, in theory on the border with England and Scotland, you don't need to have checks. But with the automatic scanning system, the authorities would know who was coming and going. And the rest of the UK is worried about illegal immigration via Scotland, especially if we join the EU and the open borders within the EU. So controls to protect their needs and their concerns would have to be put in place. Some borders would obviously be free of checks, although some would need, if you haven't got a scan card, you'll have to stop and get your passport or your driving licence looked at. Busy roads, the four mentioned earlier, would have to have multiple booths, but quiet back roads and local roads would only need two in each direction, one for free transit, one for goods. We have political borders now because of the devolution settlement, so certain things are controlled within these different borders here. This is Brexit Britain in the EU. It is likely that Scotland will join the EU because the majority of Scots wish it and the Scottish Government wishes it. So at some future date when we get Scottish independence, the area on this map that is Scotland will become blue. There are other options which has a difference, but it's likely that we will actually stay politically within the EU as quickly as possible after independence. The The UK is used to trade borders. We've always had them, as you can see here, although they've just come more complex recently. In 2014, the Better Together campaign stated that the volume of traffic and goods crossing the border and people is so great it would be chaotic and all roads would have to be closed apart from 4. They took no consideration for other people and other places at all. However, they shot themselves in the foot with Brexit, because the volume of goods going through Ireland, Wales and England and the Channel ports is much, much higher than Scotland, England would ever have, and that works. Well, it will eventually. This is the level of trade in money terms between the two countries in the last year, 1819. If you divide these figures by the population, Scotland has more trade with England, and the physical numbers are narrowing by 10% a year as Scotland slowly catches up with the rest of the UK, mainly recently due to the sales of electricity. There will be 2 periods after Scottish independence, one when we're in the EU and one when we won't be. During the separation negotiations between Westminster and Holyrood, it's important that very early on the border controls are discussed and agreed, so that the physical building of the border controls on the roads can be done. This is important to allow people to see it and get used to it, and allow people who live either side of the border, in fact anywhere within these islands, to cross the border if they have a pass with no restrictions. I know that's my opinion, but why not? Borders are normal. Since countries started defining themselves, they have tried to control their borders. Whether it be the Great Wall of China or somebody going across on the ferry to the continent. The rest of the UK, Scotland's border will be in the CTA. We just need to have electronic passes or something to make smooth flow of people within these islands. There will of course be random searches to look for drug trafficking and misdemeanours. In my view, my personal view, it is illogical from Independence Day for the EU and our UK current controls with Brexit not to be used between Scotland and the rest of the UK. This is for 2 reasons. Scotland will join the EU, and these controls will come into place within a year or 2 of independence. Also, the export travellers within England that do exports now will have been used to it, and things will have settled down. And for people that trade just within the UK, like say Asda, they will have over 2 years to fully understand the procedures, so that the chaos you see now with 1 week's notice to get documentation in place would not exist. It is in the mutual interest of both countries to make borders work, for the benefit of the economy, financially, the people that move around, and for the control of tax in each country, and also food hygiene, because these are what the EU is really concerned about, the food hygiene within the EU. Thank you for listening. These are some videos which are also about Scotland, England and the UK breaking apart. You may be interested. Thank you.